What's up guys, Sparrow here. So today I'm going to be going over a replay which will cover what to do against fast 3 hatchery play from the Zerg before spawning pool. So in this replay I'm just going to be going for a Reaper expand, and I'm going to be scouting what my opponent is doing with the Reaper. So the things I'm going to be scouting for right at the beginning, and this is what I do every game when I go for Reaper expand, is seeing if he's got a natural base, seeing if he's got 100 gas or more, or if he's mining more than 100 gas. If he's mining more than 100 gas, then it's very likely that he's going to be going for some sort of Roach Ravager play, or he's going to be going for some sort of Nidus play. And then after I've scouted those two things, I'm going to be scouting for the third base at around 3 minutes 30. The reason I scouted about 3 minutes 30, or just before 3 minutes 30, is that's when speed usually finishes, and it's just a good timing to scout for a third base. I can't do anything before about 5 minutes to hinder that base, so there's no point scouting earlier for it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, cool. So Reaper's coming out. I've expanded, I've taken another supply depot, and I'm going to take another early gas really quickly. Now, this gas in TvZ is very important. This gas means that we can get out early Hellbats, it means that we can get tanks to defend, it means we can get out early Liberators. Not getting this gas really slows down any aggression you can put on the Zerg. Alright, so at the start of the game we saw this Overlord appear, so we know he's at the top left of the map. We can go there straight away. We can do some drone damage because he doesn't have any Zerglings out. Just keep doing damage. Awesome. Alright, so we haven't scouted anything else yet. We're just going to do as much damage as possible with this Reaper, and we're going to make sure to macro back up at home. So we can build these, since we built this reactor earlier, usually I like to get one Marine after I build my Reaper, but because we saw this Overlord really early, we know that there's no possible way that he can be scouting us, so we don't need that Marine straight after the Reaper to deny any scouts. Instead we can just go for a very fast reactor, get 2 Marines out instead, and then when this factory's done we can switch these. We can switch the factory onto the reactor and build a starport. Okay, cool. So my Reaper's done some damage. We've scouted in his main base that he doesn't have any gas. And now we're going to scout to see if there's a third base. Alright, so we've spotted the third base. And because I've spotted a third base, I'm going to go for a reactive armory and into Hellbats. Awesome. I'm also going to build a bunker and just wall off in this spot. It's just a good spot to wall off against any sort of like counter push, or any sort of or it'll help to deny scouting and things like that. Alright, cool. So I move my Reaper back across the map. And because we're going to go for Hellbat pressure, we're going to use these 2 Marines to deny any scouting that he's going to do into our base. We don't want him to know, if possible, that we're going for Hellbats. We're also going to be going for this very fast stim. Now this can be used if we're doing a later Hellbat push, which is what we're doing at the moment. Because I didn't specifically at the start of the game decide to go for a Hellbat push and we did it reactively, it means that it's going to be a little bit later and we can get stim out as well as a few more Marines than we usually would, and push with stim and do a little bit more damage. Cool, so we denied the scouting from both the front of our base and from the Overlord. So I think at the moment he's got an inkling of what we're doing, and you can see, yeah, he does. So he's building a Roach Warren right here. But the problem is it's going to be a little bit late, and we should be able to get some damage in before the Roach Warren pops up and he gets roaches out. Alright, so you'll notice that when I come across the map, I'm rallying across all of my units. I'm going straight for the third base because I know this is probably going to be the weakest location, since his queens are going to be covering spreading creep. They're going to have a difficult time to get to the third base since there's no it's quite a distance away from everything else. Now I don't want to be chasing down his units at the moment. Like, I potentially could have just gone into his natural and won the game, but Zerg, like, Hellbat's incredibly slow, and you can just run your drones away, or your queens away, or whatever units you've got. If you don't have enough units, you can just run them away from the Hellbats and not take any damage from them. The only damage you take if you run away is loss of mining time. So instead of chasing around units, I'm going to get this confirmed kill on the 3rd hatchery, which will slow him down quite a bit. Now from this point I can decide whether I want to push in or perhaps go kill this hatchery or just go back home. Any one of those decisions would have been fine. Because I scout only a few units, I'm going to push in and attack and try and trade as well as possible. And while I'm doing this back home, I'm making sure to build all my production. This is perhaps the hardest part. While I'm not microing, so when I was killing this hatchery before and standing still, I made sure to spend all my money as quickly as possible, because when you're doing the Hellbat push, you've got, what, 2 bases of mining. You've only got 3 production buildings, so you're definitely not going to be spending your money fast enough. So while you're doing the push, perhaps the hardest thing to do is to spend all of your money. And I like to do it when I'm not stutter stepping with my Hellbats and Marines. So every time I'm not stutter stepping with my Hellbats and Marines, I'm back on my base building production. Awesome. And you have to make sure you do that. Like, it's very important to build the production, because if you don't build the production, your opponent is always going to be building units to defend against the Hellbats, and once they've defended the pressure, if you don't straight out win the game, they're always going to want to do a counterattack, because if you've killed their 3rd base, they won't have anything to mine from. They won't want to build drones, but they're going to have a lot of units left over, pretty much. So you got to make sure that you're getting things out, defensive units like tanks, or just a lot of Marine Marauder production. Okay, cool. So that's it. So we spent our money, and now we have an economic lead. You can see here we've got 58 workers to 46. We've got 3 bases set up, and now he's going to try and attack us. So we're going to set any tanks that we have up on this high ground here, and I mean, you can see here the tanks can't actually attack their roaches from that position, but what it means is that we can use the tanks as an anchor point to move back to if he does push in. And if we put it on the low ground, potentially he could have just pushed in and killed the tank, and then he could have killed all of our units. But because it's on the high ground, it means that we're safe from any aggression, because he can't push up and kill that tank. It's very difficult for him to push up and kill that tank. Alright, sweet. So we got 1-1. We're going to go for a 2-2. We're making sure that we get all of our production set up. We're just waiting for a larger clump of units before we push out onto the map. We've got tons of medevacs going. It's good. Alright, cool. So we've got a pretty good army size. Now we're going to have to attack Zerg soon. So the reason you always see pro players and Terran players in general being so aggressive against Zerg is because if Zerg is left alone, they don't actually have to spend any of their money. They can just bank up minerals and lava and wait until you push. They can slowly gain an advantage, since they can scout and create units which directly counter your composition all at once. The only times Terran can get an advantage is if we get Zerg into a position where Zerg is low on lava, meaning that they can't produce units to counter our army straight away, or if we do an upgrade push where our upgrades are better than our opponent, or if we get into a really good position with our units. So like we make a really nice concave, we bait their units into our concave, we put our tanks in really good positions, things like that. So pretty much we always want to be aggressive if possible at the right moments. It's kind of a balancing act. It's quite hard to understand sometimes when Terran should be aggressive against Zerg, but the more you play, the more you'll know when a good time is to push out against Zerg. Usually it's when you have an upgrade lead, or you've done some damage and you think you have an army lead, things like that. But you just have to make sure that you keep attacking, because oftentimes, or pretty much every time, if you leave a Zerg alone, they will overwhelm you and win the game. That's just how Zerg works. Alright, cool. So we've pushed in. We have a really good position with these tanks. We've got a drop that denied his 4th base and is now putting pressure on his natural base. We're not actually pushing in. Like you can see, we're not pushing in too far to his units. We've got this position we can always fall back on. And we can always, if we fall back here, trade cost efficiently. And that's it. GG. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then please consider subscribing. You can also show your support by liking the video and commenting below. Your comments help me to create more content. If you want access to more of my StarCraft content, you can follow me at 2D Sparrow. Thanks for watching.